It's Betsy Jordyn of the Consultants Institute, and I'm so excited to interview Charles Browne. And our topic today is really focusing on those product companies. You know what I'm talking about, the companies that have had a good run because they had a great innovative idea, and now somehow things have fallen off the rails and they want to establish a company, and I'm bringing in the expert to tell us all about it. So why don't you introduce yourself and share a little bit more about your business and how you help your clients?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Betsy. So I started my career in the Navy. I was part of their nuclear power program. After 8 years of service, I left and worked at a couple of commercial nuclear power plants and earned a project management certification and a master black belt in Lean Six Sigma, along with my engineering degree. But what I really enjoyed doing was I'm really kind of that in-between guy. So I'm not a strict engineer. I'm not a strict operator. The majority of my successes in my career have been in getting those two groups to kind of talk together and to take the engineering vision and kind of bound it with the operational limitations and make sure everybody's on the same page. But then also, like you alluded to, once you have some success and you have a little bit of momentum and you have some great ideas and you're getting a good response, and you've got a firm customer base, but now you're ready to step it up. There's a big difference between making 100 units a week and making 1,000 units a week. I mean, it's not just a 10x process. You really, if you're trying to do that type of light manufacturing, you're trying to make some kind of a product or deliver a service even, in order to make that kind of growth, you really have to understand what's contributing to your quality, what your customers are really looking for. Why are they buying your product and not someone else's? What kind of messages and leadership style are in the organization that are contributing to that output every week? Because sometimes the ability to go from 100 to 1,000 a week or 1,000 to 10,000 a week, it has nothing to do with the mechanical capability, right? You can turn the machine up and make it run faster, but if your organizational structure isn't right, if your management team and your leadership team isn't sharing the right messages, if they're not listening to feedback from the frontline operators, your workflow is going to break down, and you're going to get to that kind of critical point that maybe it's better than usual, but it's not quite where you want to be, and things are going to break down. One way or another, costs are going to escalate, quality is going to diminish, shipments are going to be late, schedules are going to be missed. What I really, really, really like to do, what I really enjoy doing and I gain a great sense of satisfaction from, is helping those businesses who I love, who have some kind of a product that I'm really, really excited about, make that transition from kind of a small organization. They're ready to scale up. I really like putting together systems and processes for them that make sense to them, that aren't just out of a workbook somewhere or out of an encyclopedia that tells them how to make more per week.
Okay, so let me unpack this because there's a lot here. So it sounds like first and foremost, you're dealing with a manufacturing kind of client who has a really great product and they're ready to sell more. So it sounds like they're all of a sudden getting some demand to sell more, but because of the way things are operating, it's not like they can just make the machine go faster and do that. They need to recreate almost their leadership and operating platform to enable them to go to the next stage of growth. So that sounds like a big, so you're not dealing with an evolutionary kind of change. You're talking about a transformation change, a step change from almost like one type of business to another. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes most of these organizations are very frustrated because they are incredibly bright people who got themselves to this point. Why can't I make it go? Well, sometimes it isn't just capacity. Sometimes it's not operational capacity. Sometimes the marketing message has fallen off. Like we have these, whatever, right? We have this foundational population of just rabid fans who love our product. Okay, if they love it, then there's got to be more people. Why isn't it getting out? So sometimes it's a disconnect just on that marketing plan. You have a small local marketing plan that really resonates with a particular geographical community or some other psychographic community, and then all of a sudden you try to take it national or international and it falls apart, right? The wheels fall off. So sometimes it's not always operational capacity. Sometimes it's even just in the messaging. Or the third leg on that stool is the leadership organization. It's a really easy habit to make to get your number one foreman. Okay, now we need a supervisor for the group. You know what? You're my best technician. I'm going to put you in the supervisory role. Well, wait a minute. Did you consider that there's a different skill set? Are you setting that person up to succeed? Are there, so there's a lot of moving parts in a business, specifically in this area where I'm talking about, which is taking it from, we're getting the work done every week to, next level, second shift, weekends, holiday rushes, that type of thing. So there's a lot of tools and processes that need to be put in place.
So it sounds like the first thing a company really needs to pay attention to is, one, if I'm starting to have new challenges that I didn't expect anymore, I really shouldn't feel bad about them. Like, I know in my experience consulting, a lot of leaders actually feel bad. Like, they feel like, oh my gosh, I did something wrong because I got it to this point. I don't understand what's going on. And it sounds like from your standpoint is it's not only totally normal and to be expected, but it's actually a sign that things are going well because they're getting raving fans. So now it's time to take the company to the next level. But so it sounds, if I'm hearing that right, I would make it the next step is, it sounds like the first step this company really needs to go to is, I need to embrace my challenges. It's a sign I should celebrate my challenges rather than feel bad about them. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. So those growing pains are exactly that. They're growing pains. The analogy that I usually use for clients is the transportation analogy, right? So we crawled for a while, and then we got to a point where we wanted to go faster. So we learned how to stand up and walk, and it was really uncomfortable and we fell. But then we learned how to run, and then we learned how to ride a bike, and that wasn't quite going fast enough. So then we learned how to drive a car, right? Every one of those is literally a different operational vehicle that takes us faster or further or, over certain terrains.
Okay, so this is brilliant. So what I'm hearing you say then, this is a great analogy, is that you're trying to tell your clients is it's ready for you to go to the next level. And if you want to go to the next level, you cannot be just riding a bike anymore. You need to build a car, because a car is going to take you farther than you ever thought you would go. And maybe at the next phase, they're going to need to swap out the car and turn it into an airplane. But so like at every phase, they have to swap out the vehicle that they use to deliver results. And that's why they shouldn't feel bad is when you were going from startup to this phase that you're at now, you had to swap out walking for a bike, but now you got to swap out bikes for a car. And it's going to take some time to build a car and build the right car, because it matters on where you're going and how you want to get there.
And it's the entire organization, right? So there's a completely different skill set. You might understand the rules of the road, riding a bicycle. That doesn't mean you're ready to operate a motor vehicle. So some of the toughest conversations that I've had is someone that's come to me and said, okay, we're ready to move from running to a bicycle. This is the kind of bike we need. This is how fast we want to go. But I look at their organization and they can't go 6 or 8 steps at a full run without falling over. Okay, you're not quite ready for the bicycle yet. You don't really have running mastered yet. Like, let's get that done too. So I've had some of those tough conversations as well.
So this is what sounds like where your consulting is separate and better in many, many ways than maybe even those big box, big name firms who have a lot of cookie cutter solutions because they have to. I'm not trying to criticize those organizations. They have to because they have lots and lots of companies that they're working with, and they deal with a lot of junior consultants. But I think what you're talking about is this is why a company really should hire somebody like you, who's more of a boutique firm, who can offer a solution, because it takes some precision to identify that, hey, you're running and you keep falling, you're not quite ready, rather than I want to sell you. Because a lot of consultants will want to sell an organization on a bigger solution than they're ready for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's their business model, right?
Yeah.
We want to come in, we want to apply our technique, our strategy, trademark, circle, right? That's what we want to do. And we want you to be a repeat client. So maybe we don't fix it 100%, right?
Oh yeah. That's true.
Maybe we don't give you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Maybe we just leave a couple of dangling things out there. So the advantage of someone like me who's actually going to be focused on you as a client, I mean, it sounds, again, it's a little cliche, but it's a customized, personal, one-on-one conversation between me and the leadership organization to decide what really the goals are. Are they reasonable? Are you ready for those? Those tough conversations. And then what's the congruent way? Not what's the popular way, but what's the congruent way? What's the best way to use the advantages and the leverages that you have in the marketplace without losing your existing customer base, because all of a sudden you're switching from boots to sneakers? Well, wait a minute, hang on. People love your boots. Why are you switching to sneakers? Well, sneakers is a bigger market. Sometimes those conversations, the bigger firms, that kind of stuff just glosses right over because it's not in their workbook. It's not one of the questions that have been scripted for those in-house clients to ask.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're really bringing is you have obviously, because of your background in operations and through all of your experiences, you at Six Sigma, you can go on and on and on with your professional background, the Navy, nuclear, we can go on and on. But it sounds like you use a lot of your intuition in the moment, your curiosity and drive to solve a problem when you're in the moment, and you're there to serve that client, and you're focused on what's their problem and solving it to the best of your ability, rather than I have a methodology and you have to go be a cookie cutter into my methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I promise in an initial engagement is that we're going to clearly define your problem statement. And a lot of people think that they write down the problem statement, and the problem is we need more sales. That's not a problem statement. So the first thing I do is all around language, and that's my mom's influence, right? My mom was an English teacher. My dad was an engineer. So this is my life, has been translating between these groups. So the first and only engagement that I'll ever commit to is let's clearly define your problem statement in your words. You tell me what's really wrong, and then from there, I'll move forward in a direction. We either need to get your process under control, or, hey, it looks like you have some internal data that you weren't aware of. And then I go talk to the rest of the staff to mine the solutions from internal. Because every experience I've had, the team knows. The team knows what's wrong. The team knows, what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So giving them a voice to executive management is also a big part of what I do.
Okay, so we got a lot. So I definitely want to follow that one, because I want to hear a little bit more about your differentiated approach, because it sounds like you do a lot of mining within the organization. But I want to raise a question that somebody might be listening and saying, hey, Charles, I am struggling with sales. Like, I don't understand. Why is that not a problem? Like, that might be something that doesn't make sense. So how would you move somebody from saying, hey, my problem is sales, to what you would say is a better defined problem?
Well, a better defined problem is sales isn't a single step node in your process, right? So if you're a sophisticated enough organization, you should have a sales process, which means you're advertising for leads. Those leads are coming in and being exposed to your offer, whatever that is, product or service. They're evaluating that offer. They're looking at the options. They're doing a price compare, and then they're a customer. So that's not a one-step process. So first and foremost, where's the breakdown? Are you just not getting enough leads in order to put them through the process? Or are you getting leads to a specific part in the process and then they're dropping out and the sales falling apart there? Are you getting plenty of leads but no follow through? It really depends on what the shape of the organization is. And do you make your money on a one-time sale transactional type process, which is perfectly acceptable? Or do you really count on kind of recurring monthly revenue from the same customer? What's the lifetime value of that customer? So if you're not quite sure exactly what that sales process looks like, it's really hard to move forward and just say, well, we want more sales. Therefore, what most organizations do, we'll spend more money on marketing. Well, you're spending more money on a process that's still broken. So you're going to get the same rate of return. So let's first get it under control. Look at where the breakdowns are, look at those specific steps within that process that we can improve, and then go from there and up and up and up.
Okay, so it sounds like from the big picture standpoint, so if you're dealing with a company that has had a good run with a product and really wants to take it to the next level of becoming more of like a full-on company that has some stability and scalability, your first step that sounds like you do is you make sure that the client understands, like, hey, this is good. You're moving to the next level. You're dealing with growing pains. Sounds like the second thing that you look at is like their readiness, like where their organizational readiness is. And then the third is you help them be more precise around what their issues are. That, those big words like sales or even trust, communication, like whatever, those are too big of concepts. You break it down and you help them get more precise around where the breakdowns are, really what they are looking for and what's relevant for their business model. And it sounds like when you get into the problem solving mode, so defining the problem is the first half, but it seems like when you're solving the problem, it sounds like you're using an approach where it's not like I'm just using best practices from 1,000 other companies. It sounds like you're mining them from within the organization, from all of the employees, and it sounds like from other people. So is that right, first off? And second, who are you mining these solutions from? Like who are you grabbing voices from and integrating them in the solution?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm listening.
That's absolutely how I have to do. me personally, the way I work, I have to really understand that problem statement. So definition is huge. And then the stability, the assessment of the organization, how stable are things? If I put in A, am I always going to get out B? Or every once in a while, do I get a C or a D? So, before you try and scale that type up, you have to have a lot of confidence in your people and in your process. And this isn't just the mechanical manufacturing process, right? These are other things. These are onboarding. These are promotions. These are leadership development, all those type of things. If I put in an A, do I get out a B? Do I get an expected outcome? And then absolutely, then you're ready to go. What the growing pains that people feel is they're putting in A, and they're getting B, right? That's awesome. That's the great problem to have. And then where do I get those answers? So every organization, so this is one of the mortal sins in nuclear power operations is called an operator workaround. So they have very strict procedures. First you do 1, then you do 2, then you do 3. You don't skip, you don't go out of order. You follow the process because it's very, very important that you do that. And every once in a while, somebody will write in a best practice or write in some kind of, oh, don't forget to. That's an operator workaround. That's not proceduralized. That's not captured. That's in somebody's head. Now, in a small organization, it's okay to do that, right? Because Mary does that job all day, every day. It's okay for Mary to know the best way to do that job. But unfortunately, Marys get hit by buses. And when Mary gets hit by a bus, she took that knowledge with her. The organization can't scale from there, right? So, or even, all right, so we'll bring Mary back. Mary's there. We put in a parallel line because now we want two of Marys. We hire another Mary. Mary doesn't know what the first Mary knows, right?
Let's just say Mary got the lottery and she quit.
There you go. There we go. So, but the problem is there's a lot of operator workarounds. There's a lot of knowledge capture and transfer that doesn't happen, especially in smaller organizations. Things are going good. You're celebrating. It's great. Hey, I think we have the revenue to go ahead and expand. But sometimes you don't. And a lot of times when the executive team makes the improvement decisions in a vacuum by themselves in a boardroom and just rolls them out, and they didn't pulse Mary on what the best thing to do was, Mary has a lot of knowledge that would have helped them, that would have made a better product. But because they weren't pulsed, because they're not engaged in that process, you miss a lot of opportunity. A lot of opportunity and timing. Mary could have helped you out a long, long time ago. You don't have to wait till it hits the bottom line. She knows right away. And a lot of executive decisions tend to be capital dense. They want to solve that problem with new machines and new processes and new procedures and new people. We're going to add more people. But sometimes it's more times than not, it's not that. Sometimes it's a simple procedural thing. It's a structural thing. You just kind of change a little bit of the flow a little bit. Change the tempo of certain meetings or certain feedback loops, and the team, even if you have a semi-skilled workforce that isn't really sophisticated in industrial engineering or manufacturing technologies, they know their job. They know their job very, very well. They do it for you day in and day out. They have a lot of knowledge, but they themselves don't even realize that they have knowledge. Well, but this is just what you have to do. You have to hold this little piece up here before you slide the new piece in. I mean, it's just what you do. Oh, well, if you're not doing that job every day, you're not going to know that, and you're going to miss an opportunity to make an improvement. And when you empower that front line to know that, hey, your step and your role is very, very important and very critical to this organization, when you give those people a voice, I mean, the growth is exponential. So
this is huge. This is really huge. So I'm really walking away with so many different things from this interview, but the main things is if a product-centric company wants to turn into a sort of like a customer-centric enterprise, that the challenges that they're having are actually those opportunities for growth and a way to expand their platform so that they can incorporate all those little workarounds into their actual process. And that by mining all of these solutions from within the organization rather than some sort of cookie cutter approach that you might have gotten from other companies or some other big box processes, and you get it from within, you could actually help them get to the results that they're looking for without spending huge amount of money, that it's a lot of tweaks. And actually, from my experience, if you give Mary a voice, she's going to be much more bought in, and you're going to create a much happier workforce. But it sounds like when right now, when you're dealing with all the constraints in our marketplace and how hard it is to grow a business, that people are so worried about innovation because of because of the capital. But it sounds like you can get your clients there to dramatic results without a lot of capital. Did I get that part?
Absolutely. I can count on one hand the number of times that the equipment was the bottleneck. Most every other engagement, the process, the leadership, or the message were the bottleneck. And it does not cost a lot of money to improve those things and to fix those bottlenecks. Absolutely.
Wow. So even when you're investing in the equipment under those types of things, you're still knowing with more precision that if I have to do a capital investment, it's going to get a return because I'm sure that it's the root cause rather than another simple tweak.
Yeah, you've already proven that when you put in A, you get out B. So when you invest in that new capital expenditure, you're going to put in 2 A's and get out 4 B's. Absolutely.
So it sounds like instead of you making your clients go through some sort of process, you put in their processes so that every time they do something, it's repeatable. And then when things start falling down again, which they might when they move to the step change, at least they have the foundational analytics to go from to say, all right, here's what it's supposed to be. Now we know, and now we are more educated or more confident to handle the situation in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a bit of a marketing pitch, but I really, really approach every engagement with the intent of putting myself out of business. I transfer everything I know, every bit of my process to that executive team so they can take away as much as they want. Some organizations, they just want to focus on what they do. They want me to come back on a recurring basis. Anytime they have a problem, they call, that's fine. Other organizations, they feel like they really, really want the ownership. They want to do it themselves. I share everything that I do. I help them through that. I get maybe a phone call every once in a while that says, hey, we're trying to apply that technique that you used over here and it's not quite working right. So I'm absolutely out. I educate everyone from that frontline operator all the way up through the executive team if they'll let me.
So in either case, either if they want to do it on their own or they don't want to do it on their own, you're not going to be like one of those consultants who hold a little bit back in order to get the sale, to get future sales. You're going to give it all the first time around. You're going to make sure the problem is solved. The client's in a much better scenario. And if they don't want to DIY it, you're available. And if they do want to DIY it, you're still available and just in a different capacity. But either way, you're not holding anything back so that they have to use you. They choose to use you.
If I'm on site, it's because I love them or I love their product. And so I'm not going to hold anything back. It would kill me to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me how people can get a hold of you. So what's the best way? I know you have a website. So how can they find you, and what can you offer as a couple initial first steps of how people can get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my website is charlesbrowne.com, Brown with an E, so BROWNE.com. That is my consulting site. That'll take you there. You can fill out the form, or you can just email me at charles@charlesbrowne.com. Super creative there. I'm not a design firm. So, or look for me on LinkedIn. I mean, that's most of where I do my engagement. I mean, it's the professional platform. That's where I engage a lot of people and answer a lot of questions right there on LinkedIn.
But do you have anything that somebody can get a taste of working with you? Like, is it they have to fill out a form and now they're signed up, or do you have something that you offer in the interim?
Yeah, on charlesbrowne.com, I do have an opt-in. The giveaway there is I have the outline for my strategic approach. So there's an assessment tool in there that people can download, and it'll take you through each of those facets of the organization that we just talked about and kind of give you an idea of the right questions to ask and let you yourself and your internal team. So you could do this by yourself as an individual, or you could take this to your next board meeting. And you as an organization can go through this strategic assessment and really grade yourself on how well you're doing in those individual areas. You'd probably be really, really successful on being able to identify your own bottleneck just by using that one free tool.
So that sounds like a great solution for your DIY kind of clients, because there sounds like you have the DIYers who definitely would love the tool. What about somebody who just wants a little bit more of a personal approach? Can they jump on a call with you and will you?
Absolutely.
Are you going to charge them, or would it be something that you offer complimentary?
No, I definitely offer complimentary calls. Again, it's a two-way street. I'm not right for every client. Every client's not right for me. So I definitely encourage anyone who's thinking about reaching out to me. You can go to that website again, go straight to my calendar. There's a form on there that'll take you straight to my calendar to schedule a call, 30 or 60 minutes, somewhere in there. And let's get on the call. Let's talk about what your problem is, and I'll help you really define what that problem statement is. And by the end of that call, you'll have a clear idea of what your ask is, and I'll have a clear idea of whether I'm the right person to help you with.
So it sounds like you're not really there to, do a high pressure sales. It sounds like it's a conversation. And if I get on the call, if I'm in that same boat, can I expect that maybe you'll help make sense of all of the confusion I might have? Like, will I be able to walk away with more clarity on my, really the difference? What you said in the beginning is, I think I have a sales problem, but are you going to help me kind of figure out, like, what is my real problem, so that I can at least get that, whether we decide to work together or not?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not necessarily a secret, but how I do that is so personalized and it's so conversational that that's really only something that I can do when I'm talking to someone face to face, one-on-one, or through this medium, whatever it is. It really is a conversation, because it is so important to put those solutions in context. Who are you? Who is your business? What's your value statement? What are your business's mission, vision, and values? How does that play into what you're trying to do with the business? All that stuff is so important to getting a good result, that having that conversation is absolutely the best place to be. And yeah, at the end of those calls, usually, 30 to 60 minutes, there's a lot of aha moments in there. And even if you have 3 or 4 different things that are bothering you, I'm really great at helping you understand what that top number one priority is, because maybe this one of the 3 initiatives really needs to be completed before you move on to the others, or one is more pressing than the other. So again, those are all kind of things that I apply my own personal experience and expertise to, and that's what I love to do. That's why I'm doing it.
So bottom line, what it sounds like is if you're a company who has a really great product and for some reason things are plateaued and things seem to be challenging, Charles is your guy who's going to help you take those challenges and help your company actually become on that growth path, potentially on your way to becoming number one in your industry, or at least in your market. And your first step is really just to get on your website, check it out, get your freebie if you're the DIY person who would like to just kind of use a tool, which is a great. Or if you get the tool or you don't get the tool, you'll still offer an opportunity for people to get on a call, and you're going to help clarify. So you're going to go into their heads and sort and organize all those ideas so that they are clearer than they ever were before. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you just kind of reminded me, there's been a couple occasions where I've gotten on the phone with an organization. It was during whatever their weekly or monthly call was. I've gotten on a speaker phone with an entire boardroom of people and given them enough help to be able to hang up the phone and work for another month or 2 on an internal problem before they then reach back out to me for a larger engagement. So yeah, you've said that I'm not high pressure. I'm not that way anyway, but even just helping you understand what you as an organization want to do next, helping you decide whether or not you're even ready for external help yet or not. That's also part of what I do too. So yeah.
Okay, so that is a huge differentiator. So for anybody who's listening in, there's an opportunity one-on-one, or there's an opportunity for you to talk one-to-many, because most consultants don't necessarily jump on a call with a leadership team. And I know my experience working with leadership teams, they're trying to come together on this one. So to bring consensus to say, here's what the problem is that we want to solve, is huge. And whether they jump on working with you at that point is not as relevant. For you, it's all about problem solving. Your passion is solving the problem, and you'll do whatever it takes.
Absolutely. And solving the problem from an organizational perspective, not just from HR's perspective, or it really is great to have everybody to talk to, because I'm gonna talk to everybody anyway. So you may as well get them in the room.
So you not only solve the problem, but you get everybody on the same page, working together to solve the same problem. That's massive. Thank you so much for your time. This was so helpful, and I know this was helpful for so many. So I'm very grateful for you taking the time.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you.